Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Equal rights, opportunity, living as one community.
Hello, my name is Robert M. Taylor. I'm a member of the California Department of Developmental Services Consumer Advisory Committee.
Members of the Consumer Advisory Committee believe leadership is by example, knowing your rights and demonstrating personal leadership in your life before teaching others. Our motto is My Life, My Way. Before we can live the lives we want, we must first understand our basic rights as human beings. Some of these rights include the right to a meaningful job and being able to participate as a contributing member of the community. Rights of all persons with disabilities need to be respected and protected in the same way as for those without a disability. Learning about your rights, sharing your knowledge with others, and living your life the way you want can be a step toward one community and equality for all.
Thank you everybody for hosting me here this morning. It's a real pleasure. I've never really had a chance to visit California very much before, so this is only my second time coming to California, and I think this will be my best trip yet, thanks to you. So I want to start by just giving you a little bit of background about myself, who I am, what I do. I'm what they call an international lawyer, and international lawyers work with different countries. We know that sometimes countries don't always agree with each other on different issues, and my job is to help countries try to find things that they can agree on. Human rights are what we need to live with dignity and to enjoy freedom. The pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of the life that you want, right? All people have human rights. There's nobody who's more human than somebody else. Some examples of some human rights. We've been talking, a number of you use the word equal or equality. That's the right to be treated equally, to not end up being treated differently than somebody else. The right to be safe from disasters or abuse or violence. And I know a big focus of your work has been on feeling safe and being safe, which is really important for everybody, including people with disabilities. Another example of a human right is the right to privacy. You have that right whether you're a person with a disability or not. You have that right whether you live in your own home, in a group home, in an institutional setting. You have the right to privacy. We all have the right to work in safe conditions, and we have the right to be paid a wage that you can live on.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And if you're doing the same job as somebody else, you shouldn't get paid less just because you're a woman or you're a person with a disability. So human rights are for people with disabilities just as much as anybody else. Now there's some technical terms that we sometimes use when we're talking about human rights. The first technical word is the word universal. Human rights are universal because they belong to everybody, the whole universe of humanity. The second technical word is inalienable. What it means is you can't take somebody's human rights away from them. Nobody can give you your rights and nobody can take them away. You just have them because you're a human being. The third technical word is indivisible. That means the human rights can't be divided from each other. We just talked about some different kinds of rights. The right to be healthy, the right to be able to work, to get paid an equal wage, the right to be treated equally. You can't take one of those rights and separate it out on its own. And similarly, this term interrelated, the other technical word, means that the human rights aren't just connected, but they affect each other. All right? If you want to be able to enjoy the right to vote, for example, you might want to be able to enjoy the right to get together with other people and talk about the issues that you're going to be voting on. Those rights relate to each other. Is an organization, and its members aren't individuals, they're countries. Whole countries come to the United Nations and they say, we want to work together for a better world. There are about 192 different countries who are members of the United Nations. That's a lot of countries. It's a lot of people. They make these things called treaties. So what is a treaty? Treaties are agreements in writing between two or more countries. And if a country decides that they want to be a part of that treaty, then it's law. That treaty is law for that country. It means they must abide by it. They must do what the treaty says that they have to do. Finally, countries have said, we need to do a better job of making sure that people with disabilities can enjoy their rights. And what are some key things to remember about this agreement? First of all, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. What does the treaty promote? It promotes respect for the choices and the full inclusion of all persons with disabilities. The treaty requires all countries who join it to include persons with disabilities in any decisions affecting their lives. When this treaty was made, there was a phrase the global disability community used. It's called "nothing about us without us." So persons with disabilities all over the world came to New York and they helped to write the treaty. If you're going to talk about us, we need to be a part of that conversation. And that's what this treaty says too. There's 3 steps to be a part of this treaty. Okay, it's a 3-step process. The first step is called becoming a signatory. That means that a country signs a treaty. And what that means is that that country agrees with the ideas that are in the treaty, and it means that that country is interested in joining the treaty in the future. The United States has now signed this treaty. Wow. President Obama ordered that our country should sign this treaty. About 140 other countries who have signed this treaty, and we became the 141st country to sign this treaty. Step 2 is called ratification. For the United States to ratify, the Senate needs to vote whether or not the United States should be a part of this treaty. We have a special name for countries who have decided to join a treaty. That special name is States Party. So when a country joins a treaty, we call them a party to the treaty, like showing up at a party, right? And so the United States would be joining all of these other countries who are already at the party. And when a country becomes a states party, that's a big deal. It means that the treaty is now law for that country. Article 11 in this treaty is all about emergencies and disasters. What's an article? Much as if you're reading a book divided into chapters, we divide treaties up into things called articles. Same thing. Article 11 says you have the right to be safe in this kind of a situation. And to do that, governments and people with disabilities, they need to plan ahead.
And if you're not prepared in an emergency, your chances of survival can be very minimal, or none at all.
And you think, well, if that were really happening, what would I want to have with me?
There you go.
What about work? If you've got a natural disaster going on, you probably can't get to your job, right? So you're not enjoying your right to work, and if you're not working, maybe you're not earning money, you need money for other things. Those human rights are all connected with each other. So human rights are kind of like dominoes. When one of those human rights falls, they hit other human rights and they fall too. So when you don't enjoy one human right, it's really important. It's not just that human right. You're losing out on lots of different human rights. Sam and Carol and myself will be on a panel to ask us about what we've been talking about today.
Carol, this question's for you. How do we help the treaty to help people to get to live their life the way they want?
Tell people about the treaty, what it is, what's in it, based upon your own life and the things that you want. There are things in the treaty that talk about you.
Sam, why is it important for me to know my rights?
You need to know your rights and where in your choices of what you want in your life. You know them. Nobody can push you around, because I mean, it's your life.
Thank you.
Is the hope for the treaty to have national policies and laws created in those countries that provide those opportunities for people with developmental disabilities?
The answer is yes. It's not enough for a country to join the treaty and say, we've joined the treaty, and stop there. It's not enough for countries to say, we think this is a good idea. They need to do something about it. And for most countries, that will mean passing laws, or if they have laws, they need to change them to make sure that they don't discriminate against people with disabilities. They need to have policies. And anytime they're doing that, people with disabilities need to be part of that process, so that those laws and those policies are reflective of people with disabilities' preferences.
What would you tell future leaders who want to be leaders and learn more about the treaty bill?
By the time they're going to graduate from the high schools, that they're going to be able to live in their own apartments or have a job, even own their own business. I mean, there's a little bit of that going on right now. The whole thing is that we need to encourage this so we can help these kids, because we as adults, we can take responsibility. Kids don't know what direction to take.
People under 16 or teenagers, high school, they have the same rights even though they're under their parents?
Children with disabilities have rights too. Just because you're young doesn't mean you're not human. You have rights too. And the children with disabilities have the same right to express themselves, to have an opinion about something, to make choices. And those choices get to be more important the older you get. You're living the vision that this treaty wants all people around the world to get to live. In decisions that affect their lives, in your leadership, in your families, in your communities, in your towns.
It's a dream vision that will come true for all.
I just want to say how much I appreciate it and thank you for being such generous and kind hosts. You're welcome.
I believe that the rights of people with disabilities could be a reality. People with disabilities around the world will finally get the rights we deserve.
This video will help us and everyone else in the community